The diplomatic hall fell silent as Queen Zaraketh's forearms slammed against the crystalline podium. Her scales rippled with bioluminescent fury, casting shadows across the assembled representatives of 12 species. I stood among the human delegation, my dress uniform suddenly too tight around my collar. 17 proposals, the Queen's voice cracked through the translator. 17 suitors from across the Galactic Council, and my daughter rejects them all. She sits in her chambers, starving herself, refusing to speak. She says she would rather die than marry outside her choice. Ambassador Chen shifted beside me, her diplomatic mask firmly in place, but I saw her fingers twitch toward her comm device. This wasn't the trade negotiation we'd been promised. The Vrin Concordat offers genetic compatibility matrices, Queen Zaraketh continued, her secondary arms gesturing at a insectoid delegate who buzzed nervously. The Helian Empire brings wealth beyond measure. A crystalline being flickered with uncomfortable light. The Terran Federation sends. She paused, her jaw plates grinding. What do humans bring? Your species is barely 50 years into council membership. You have no royal bloodlines, no genetic enhancements, no psi-bond capabilities. The chamber erupted. Delegates from 36 species began shouting in languages my translator struggled to parse. I caught fragments, insult to protocol, unstable genetic stock, emotional primitives. Ambassador Chen stood, hands raised for calm. But Queen Zaraketh wasn't finished. My daughter is dying. Do you understand? Her biochemistry is collapsing. The medical scans show metabolic shutdown. In your terms, she's 23 years old. In my species, she should have bonded by 19. Every day without a mate destabilizes her cellular structure. The Queen's upper right arm pointed at a hollow screen. Medical data scrolled past, charts I couldn't fully interpret, but the declining curves needed no translation. A young woman was dying, and political maneuvering had created this crisis. I opened this proposal to the entire council, Zaraketh said, her voice dropping to something that sounded like despair. I begged for solutions. And what do I receive? Genetic audits? Political negotiations? Trading agreements that treat my daughter like cargo? Her bioluminescence dimmed. None of you care about her. None of you want her as she is. You want what bonding to the Kethran throne could provide. She was right. I'd read the briefings during our shuttle approach. The Kethran controlled 7 resource-rich systems. Their genetic engineering capabilities were legendary. A marriage alliance would bring tremendous advantage. So I ask you now, the Queen said, her voice rising again. Knowing that my daughter will choose death over dishonor, knowing that she has rejected every calculated proposal, knowing that she sees through your political games, who among you would step forward not for power, not for advantage, but because you would value her life above all else? The delegates looked at each other. The Varen ambassador's antenna twitched. The Helian representative's crystalline form dimmed. No one moved. Ambassador Chen's hand gripped my forearm. Lieutenant Morrison, do not... My boots echoed against the polished floor. Every eye tracked my movement. The translator picked up whispers. Human. Madness. Genetic suicide. Queen Zaraketh's 4 eyes focused on me as I stopped 3 meters from the podium. Protocol demanded I maintain that distance. Her scales shifted through colors I couldn't name. You? She said. You're not even the ambassador. No, Your Majesty. My voice sounded steady. I'm Lieutenant James Morrison, xenobiology specialist, attached to the Terran delegation. Xenobiology. Her mandibles clicked. You study aliens. I study what makes species unique. What makes them survive. Behind me, Ambassador Chen was probably having a stroke. I'd just violated about 15 diplomatic protocols, but something in the Queen's posture had changed. Her secondary arms lowered slightly. You know nothing of my daughter. I know she's willing to die to maintain her autonomy. I know she's seen through every manipulative proposal. I know her mother loves her enough to humiliate herself in front of the Galactic Council. I took a breath. And I know that if she's dying because no one values her as a person, then everyone in this room should be ashamed. The Queen's bioluminescence flared bright enough to make me squint. For 5 seconds she didn't speak. You would bond with a woman you've never met. Accept the biological changes required for Kethran compatibility? Live in a culture completely alien to your own? Her voice carried something new. Not hope. Testing. I would meet her first, I said, and ask what she wants. Not what the Council wants. Not what political advantage demands. What she wants. She wants to choose. Then let her choose whether to even speak with me. The chamber exploded into chaos. 3 delegates were shouting about human arrogance. Ambassador Chen was trying to reach me through the crowd. The Vryn ambassador was demanding I be removed. Queen Zaraketh raised all 4 arms. Silence fell instantly. Very well, Lieutenant Morrison. Her scales settled into a deep purple I couldn't read. You will meet my daughter, but understand, she has refused to see anyone for 6 days. The guards outside her chambers have standing orders. If she doesn't eat within 48 hours, they will sedate her and begin forced medical intervention. I ask her name? The Queen's expression softened. Just slightly. Just enough. Her name is Sira. The guards outside Princess Sira's chambers were 3 meters tall and armed with plasma rifles. They didn't acknowledge my approach until I was 5 meters away, then both weapons tracked to my chest. Lieutenant Morrison, the left guard said through her translator, the Queen granted you this audience. You have 1 hour. The princess has been informed of your presence. She has not responded. The chamber beyond was larger than my apartment back on Earth. Soft bioluminescent panels provided gentle light. The air smelled like ozone and something floral I couldn't identify. And sitting on a cushioned platform near the far window, staring out at 3 moons, was Syra. She didn't turn when I entered, didn't acknowledge the doors closing behind me. Her scales were pale blue-green, muted compared to her mother's vibrant display. She wore simple clothing, something like a tunic adapted for her 4 arms. Her tail curled around her legs. I stopped 10 meters away, gave her space. Princess Syra, my name is... I know who you are. Her voice was quieter than her mother's. Younger. Tired. The guards told me. The human who stepped forward. The xenobiology specialist who thinks he can solve everything with one noble gesture. Let her continue. They didn't tell you everything, did they? She still hadn't turned. About what bonding means for my species. About what it would cost you. I know it requires biological modification, genetic compatibility treatments. It requires you to undergo cellular restructuring. Now she turned. Her 4 eyes met mine, and I saw the exhaustion there. The fear. Your DNA would be rewritten. Your lifespan extended to match mine, approximately 400 years. Your neurochemistry altered to accommodate the Psi-bond. You would no longer be entirely human. I stepped closer. Slowly. May I sit? She gestured to a cushion across from her. Sat, keeping my hands visible, my posture open. Why did you step forward? Sira asked. And don't give me some rehearsed speech about duty or honor. I've heard 17 of those. I want the truth. About giving her the diplomatic answer. But her eyes held the kind of exhaustion that comes from seeing through everyone's masks. Because I watched your mother beg, I said. Not negotiate. Beg. And every person in that room was calculating their political advantage while you were dying. It made me angry. Angry enough to throw away your humanity? Angry enough to think maybe humanity means something different than I was taught? You're honest. You're starving yourself to death. Seems like a time for honesty. A sound escaped her. Not quite a laugh, but close. They told you that part. Your mother said you'd rejected 17 proposals, that you'd rather die than marry for politics. 18 now. She gestured at me. Though you're different, you didn't propose. You just showed up. Ask what you actually want. Syra's scales shifted through several colors. Blue to purple to something greenish. What I want to choose my own path. I want to study quantum mechanics and read ancient Earth literature and travel to the border systems. I want to be something other than a political bargaining chip. So, why are you dying? So, because my biology doesn't care about my wants. Her voice cracked. Kethron females bond or die. It's genetic. By 25, our bodies begin shutting down if we haven't formed a Psi-bond connection. Evolution's way of ensuring genetic diversity, I suppose. Force us to bond young or eliminate us from the gene pool. And you can't bond with someone you don't choose? Technically, I can. The physical process works with any compatible partner. But the Psi-bond is permanent, Lieutenant. It's not marriage as humans understand it. It's a neurological connection. I would feel my partner's emotions, share their thoughts for 400 years. She looked back out the window. Would you want that with someone chosen by committee? That much was certain. Your mother said you've refused to see anyone for 6 days, because every visitor has been the same. They talk about compatibility matrices and political advantages and genetic optimization. They talk about everything except me. About who I am, what I want to study, what makes me laugh. Her tail twitched. Do you know what makes me laugh, Lieutenant? No. Neither do any of the 17 suitors. They never asked. The 3 moons hung at different angles, each a different color. Beautiful. Alien. What makes you laugh? I asked. She looked up at me, surprised. You're asking? I'm asking. Her scales shifted to a warmer purple. Old Earth comedies. The physical humor. I don't always understand the cultural references, but the slapstick translates. I watched something called Silent Films last year. A human named Buster Keaton. His timing was perfect. I smiled. My grandfather loved Keaton. Said he was the greatest physical comedian who ever lived. He was right. Sierra's voice had energy now. Actual interest. The way Keaton could make complex stunts look effortless. That's art. That's understanding physics and timing and... She stopped. You're doing it on purpose. Doing what? Making me talk. Making me engage. It's a technique, isn't it? Get the patient talking about their interests. It's also called having a conversation. I sat back down. Princess, I'm not here to trick you. I don't have some elaborate plan. I stepped forward because the situation was wrong, and I'm sitting here now because I genuinely want to know who you are. Why? Because if I'm going to have someone in my head for 400 years, I'd like them to be interesting. That got an actual laugh. Small, but real. You're assuming I would choose you, she said. I'm assuming nothing. I'm just asking for a chance. Sierra's scales flickered through several colors rapidly, her species equivalent of nervous energy. The genetic compatibility treatments would take 6 weeks. You'd be in medical stasis for most of it. When you emerged, your DNA would be 43% Kethran. Your appearance wouldn't change much, but your internal biology would be fundamentally different. Would I still be me? Yes. Your memories, personality, consciousness, all intact. But your emotional range would expand. Ketherans experience feelings more intensely than humans. Joy is sharper. Fear cuts deeper. The Sibond amplifies that further. Sounds overwhelming. It can be. That's why compatibility matters. If you bond with someone whose emotional patterns conflict with yours, it's torture. Constant psychological noise. She met my eyes. That's what my mother doesn't understand. I'm not refusing to bond because I'm stubborn. I'm refusing because bonding with the wrong person would be worse than death. I nodded slowly. So how do you know if someone's compatible? Neurological scans, personality matrices. The suitors all pass those. But the tests only measure baseline compatibility. They can't predict whether 2 people will actually understand each other, whether they'll grow together or apart over centuries. That's a risk any long-term relationship faces. Yes, but most species can end relationships. Divorce, separation, whatever you call it. The psi bond is permanent. There's no breaking it without killing both partners. The weight of that settled over the conversation. I'd known bonding was serious. I hadn't fully grasped the permanence. I need to be honest with you, I said. I don't know if I'm compatible. I don't know if we could build something real. But I do know that you deserve the choice. And if there's any way I can help you have that choice, even if it's just buying you more time, I'll do it. Cyrus' scales went very still. You'd undergo the treatments just to buy me time? If that's what you need, even if I ultimately choose someone else? Even then, the bioluminescent panels shifted through their cycle. Outside, the moons moved incrementally across the sky. The guards said I have 48 hours before forced intervention, Sierra said finally. If you begin the compatibility treatments immediately, you'll be conscious for the first 72 hours. We could talk, get to know each other. See if there's actually anything between us beyond desperation and good timing. And if there's not, then at least I'll have had the chance to choose. Even if I choose to let the medical team save my life through forced bonding with one of the vetted suitors, her voice carried resignation, at least it would be my choice. I stood and extended my hand. Human gesture, but she seemed to understand. Then let's find out. Her primary right hand grasped mine. Her scales were surprisingly warm. The medical bay smelled like antiseptic and ozone. Dr. Felmar, the lead physician, was a Vryn. All chitinous plates and compound eyes. He moved with precise efficiency as he prepared the compatibility treatment chamber. Lieutenant Morrison, his translator buzzed, I must confirm you understand the risks. The treatment has a 94% success rate. 6% of subjects experience catastrophic rejection, death, or permanent neurological damage. I understand. You also understand that once the process begins, stopping it prematurely would be fatal? Yes. Cyrus sat in the observation area, her mother beside her. Queen Zaraketh hadn't spoken since we'd entered the medical bay. Her scales were muted gray. Dr. Felmar gestured to the treatment chamber, a cylindrical pod filled with what looked like gel. You'll be submerged for 6 weeks. The first 72 hours you'll remain conscious. Your neural pathways will be mapped and gradually modified. It's uncomfortable but not painful. After 72 hours, we'll induce stasis for the remaining restructuring. And during those first 72 hours, Princess Syra will be able to communicate with you through the Cybond interface. Limited contact, but enough to begin forming the neural connections that would facilitate a full bond upon completion. I looked at Syra. She nodded. All right, I said. Let's do this. The gel was warm and thick. It filled my lungs, but I could still breathe, some sort of oxygenated suspension. Dr. Felmar's voice came through speakers in the chamber, beginning neural mapping. You'll feel pressure at the base of your skull. He wasn't wrong. It felt like someone was pressing their thumbs into my spine. Not painful, but profoundly uncomfortable. Then I felt something else. A presence at the edge of my consciousness, like someone standing just outside my peripheral vision. Can you hear me? Sierra's voice, but not spoken. Thought directly into my mind. Yes. I tried to think back. Is this the Cybond? Just the interface, temporary connection through the medical equipment. The real bond would be deeper, more complete. How deep? Imagine the closest friend you've ever had. Now imagine you could feel their emotions without asking, know their needs without explanation, experience their joy and pain as if it were your own. That's the bond. The pressure at the base of my skull increased. I tried to focus on Cyrus' presence instead. Tell me about quantum mechanics, I thought.
What?
You said you wanted to study quantum mechanics. Tell me why. Then I felt something. Curiosity, maybe. Warm and alive. Because it's beautiful, Sierra thought. The way probability collapses into certainty when observed. The way particles can be entangled across any distance, affecting each other instantaneously. It mirrors the Cybond in some ways. Two consciousnesses entangled, acting as one system. So you see the universe is connected. I see the universe as more complex than anyone wants to admit. Politics treats everything as simple. Trade this for that, form this alliance for that advantage. But quantum mechanics proves that observation changes reality. Intention matters. Connection matters. The pressure moved to my temples. I felt the gel shifting around me, responding to microscopic changes in my biology. James, Sierra thought, and hearing my name in her mental voice felt intimate. Why did you really step forward? The truth, not the diplomatic answer. I could lie. The interface was temporary. She probably couldn't read my actual thoughts, just what I projected. But what was the point? Because I've spent 3 years studying alien species, I thought, learning their languages, their customs, their biology, and the whole time I've watched humans treat them like puzzles to solve, like resources to exploit. Your mother begged and everyone calculated. It was ugly. I wanted to do something that wasn't ugly, that's still about other people. What about you? What do you want? The question hit harder than I expected. I don't know, I admitted. I joined the diplomatic corps because I was good at biology and bad at understanding humans. Aliens made sense. Clear patterns, observable behaviors. But my own species? I felt myself almost laugh. I can tell you how a Vrin processes emotional trauma through pheromone release, but I can't navigate a relationship that lasts more than 6 months, so you're as lost as I am. Maybe. Or maybe we're both looking for the same thing. Which is? Someone who sees us. Actually sees us. Not what we represent, or what we can provide. Just us. The presence at the edge of my consciousness grew warmer. I felt something from Sierra. Not quite emotion, more like color. Purple gold, if feelings had shades. The treatments will change you, she thought. In 6 weeks, you won't be entirely human. Your family won't understand. Your friends will see you differently. Ambassador Chen will probably never forgive you for the diplomatic incident you caused. Are you really prepared for that? Are you prepared to bond with someone you've known for 2 hours? No. But I'm prepared to find out if I could be. The distinction mattered. I felt it resonate between us through the interface. Tell me something true, Sire thought. Something you've never told anyone. I thought about deflecting, but the gel was warm around me, and her presence felt safe. I'm terrified of disappointing people. Every assignment, every mission, I overprepare. Study twice as hard as necessary, run scenarios until I can predict every variable. Because if I fail, it's not just my failure. It's humanity failing, proving we're not ready for the Galactic Council, proving we're still primitive. That's a heavy burden.
Your turn.
Something true. Syra's presence shifted, drawing inward, then expanding again. I'm angry, she thought. Everyone sees me as dying. Tragic. In need of saving. But I'm not dying passively. I'm making a choice. I know my biology will kill me if I don't bond. I know that's not sustainable long term, but I'm angry that my entire life has been decided by genetics and politics. This refusal, it's the only control I have. Even if it kills you, especially then, at least it would be my death. My choice. I understood that. The dark logic of it. The need for autonomy, even when autonomy meant destruction. What if we find another option? I thought. There isn't one. Kethran biology is absolute. It's adaptable. That's how evolution works. This isn't evolution. This is 6 million years of genetic programming, which means 6 million years of mutations and variations. There have to be outliers. Kethrans who didn't bond on schedule, but survived. There was a long pause, then curiosity again, sharper this time. You're suggesting genetic research during the compatibility treatments? I'm suggesting we use the 72 hours to explore every option. If bonding is truly the only solution, at least we'll know we tried everything else. Dr. Felmar would never approve unauthorized research. Then we don't tell him. We just ask questions, request data. Cross-reference. What does your medical history show? Are there any unusual genetic markers? Anything that might indicate variation from standard Kethran bonding requirements? Syra's presence flared with something electric. Hope? Maybe. Or anger at having hope. My mother had me tested extensively. Nothing unusual. But they were testing for compatibility. Not for alternatives. James, if there were alternatives, someone would have found them. Would they? Or would they have stopped looking once they confirmed the standard pattern? The pressure at the base of my skull intensified. Dr. Felmar's voice crackled through the speakers. Neural mapping complete. Beginning genetic integration. Lieutenant, your pain receptors will be temporarily heightened. This is normal. Heightened was an understatement. Every nerve ending lit up simultaneously. I tried to breathe through it, but breathing was complicated by gel-filled lungs. James? Sierra's presence wrapped around me. Concerned. I can feel your pain through the interface. I'm fine. You're screaming mentally. Still fine. You're an idiot. Yeah. Something changed in the connection. Syra's presence didn't just wrap around my consciousness. It pushed into the pain, diffusing it somehow. The intensity didn't decrease, but it spread out, became manageable.
What are you doing?
I thought. Sidbond interface allows basic emotional sharing. I'm taking some of the pain.
You don't have to do that.
We existed like that for what felt like hours. Pain shared between us, making it bearable. And in the spaces between the waves of agony, I felt her, not just her thoughts, but her presence. The essential quality that made Sierra herself. She was fierce, brilliant, terrified, hopeful despite herself. She felt like someone who'd been fighting alone for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to have someone fight beside her. This is what the full bond would be like, she thought, but deeper, permanent. Your thoughts would become partially mine. My emotions would bleed into yours. We'd never be entirely separate again.
That's what scares you.
That's what scares everyone. But no one wants to admit it. They talk about romantic union and spiritual connection, but the reality is loss of self. Voluntary dissolution of boundaries, or expansion of self, I thought. Maybe becoming we doesn't mean losing I. Maybe it means having someone who understands completely. You don't know that, no. But neither do your 17 suitors. At least I'm admitting it. Her presence shifted, amusement mixed with exasperation. You're determined to be difficult, aren't you? I prefer persistent. That's what difficult people always say. The pain was fading. Dr. Felmar's voice returned. First modification cycle complete. Lieutenant Morrison, your genetic markers are integrating normally. Princess Sierra, your neural patterns are synchronizing with the interface as expected. I'm beginning the second cycle. Syra, I thought, about the research. Will you help me, even if it's pointless? Long pause. Why does this matter so much to you? Because you deserve the choice. Real choice. Not just selecting the least terrible option from a curated list, and if we find nothing, if biology is absolute and bonding is inevitable, then at least you'll know you explored every possibility. And if you choose to bond with me after that, it won't be because time ran out. It'll be because you decided. Another pause. Longer. Then her presence expanded, wrapping around mine completely. All right, we'll research. But James, if we do this, if we bond, you need to understand something. I'm not easy to live with. I'm stubborn, I argue. I care too much about things that don't matter and too little about things that do. I want to spend decades in research stations at the edge of mapped space. I'll drag you to ancient Earth film festivals and expect you to understand why silent comedy matters. What? I'm already in a medical pod getting my DNA rewritten. I think I've accepted the difficult part. That got a laugh. Mental laughter feels different, like light bursting through clouds. Let's find me some alternatives. And James, thank you for asking what I want. No one's done that in a very long time. The 72 hours were the longest and shortest of my life. Dr. Felmar ran me through 12 modification cycles. Each one felt like being disassembled and rebuilt at the cellular level. Between cycles, Sierra and I talked. Not just surface conversation. Real discussion. She told me about growing up in the royal compound, always being groomed for political marriage. Never quite fitting the mold expected of Catherine princesses. Preferring research to diplomacy, equations to etiquette. I told her about Earth, about growing up in the Pacific Northwest, surrounded by forests. About my mother's death when I was 16, and how I'd buried myself in biology textbooks to avoid feeling the grief. About joining the diplomatic corps because I wanted to matter. Wanted to prove humanity deserved a place among the stars. We researched when Dr. Felmar wasn't actively modifying my biology. Syra accessed the Kethran medical databases. I pulled data from the Terran xenobiology archives. We cross-referenced, looking for any case of Kethran females surviving past bonding age without forming a psi bond. We found 7 cases across 600 years. All had died within weeks of their 25th birthday. It's genetic inevitability, Dr. Felmar said when we asked him directly. The Kethran endocrine system is designed to trigger cascade failure without the hormonal regulation provided by a psi bond partner. I'm sorry, Princess, but biology is absolute in this matter. Syra's presence dimmed in my consciousness, resignation settling over her like a blanket. I told you, she thought. We haven't checked everything. We've checked everything that exists, and we look at what doesn't exist yet. James, what if we could artificially regulate the hormones? Supplement the missing psi bond functions through medical intervention? Dr. Felmar's compound eyes swiveled toward the monitoring station. Lieutenant, that's theoretical. Untested. The biochemistry is vastly complex. But possible? In theory. But developing such treatment would take years. Princess Syra has days. What if we use the compatibility treatment as a template? I thought it through aloud. The gel is already modifying my biology, creating interfaces between different genetic systems. Could we use similar technology to create a regulatory interface for Syra? Something that provides the hormonal balance without requiring a psi bond? His mandibles clicked rhythmically. Vryn expression of deep thought. It would be experimental, he said finally. Unprecedented. The Medical Ethics Review Board would never approve it in time. Then we don't ask permission. Queen Zaraketh's voice came through the observation chamber speakers. She'd been silent for the entire 72 hours, just watching. Dr. Felmar, can it be done? The treatment could kill her. Give me odds. 40% survival. Perhaps 50 if we combine it with partial psi bond integration, using Lieutenant Morrison's modified biology as a stabilizing reference. Explain, the Queen demanded. The Lieutenant's genetic restructuring creates a bridge between human and Kethran biology. If we use his modified cells as a template, we could potentially create a hybrid regulatory system for the princess. Not a full psi bond, but enough biological integration to prevent cascade failure. James, Syra's thought was sharp. That would still bind us together. Permanently. Not completely. You'd have autonomy. We'd be connected but not merged. You don't know that. But it's better than dying. Better than forced bonding with someone chosen by committee. Her presence pulled away slightly. I felt her thinking, processing. This is still a choice being made under pressure, she thought. Still desperation wearing a different mask. Yes, but it's your desperation, your mask, your choice. Princess, Dr. Felmar said gently, I need your decision. The lieutenant's modification cycle is nearly complete. If we're going to attempt this, we must begin immediately. The observation chamber was silent. 3 moons hung outside the window, their light painting strange shadows across the medical bay. Then Sira stood. Walked to the window of my treatment pod. Her 4 eyes met mine through the gel and glass. If we do this, she said aloud, her voice carrying to everyone, and it works, we'll be connected, not fully bonded, but tied together biologically for the rest of our lives. You'd never be entirely human again. I'd never be entirely independent. Are you certain? I looked at her, really looked. Saw the exhaustion and fear and desperate hope. Saw someone who'd been fighting alone for too long. I'm certain I want you to live, I said. I'm certain you deserve the choice. I'm certain that whatever comes next, we face it together. That's enough certainty for me. Her scales shifted through every color I'd seen and several I hadn't. Then she nodded. Dr. Felmar, begin the procedure. The next 6 hours were chaos. Dr. Felmar extracted cellular samples from my modified biology and began synthesizing a regulatory framework. Queen Zaraketh contacted 3 other Kethran medical specialists, pulling them into emergency consultation. Ambassador Chen called 14 times before the Queen had communications blocked. I remained in the treatment pod while Sira was prepared in an adjacent chamber. We maintained the Cybond interface, our thoughts tangling together as the doctors worked. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too. If this fails... It won't. You can't know that. No. But I choose to believe it anyway. That's what faith is. I didn't think humans believed in faith. We believe in lots of things. Hope. Stubbornness. The idea that sometimes the impossible just needs someone stupid enough to try. Her mental laugh was shaky but real. Beginning integration, Dr. Felmar announced. Princess, you'll feel the lieutenant's biology interfacing with yours. It will be uncomfortable. Through the interface, I felt Syra's pain spike. Nerve endings firing, hormones surging, systems recalibrating. She gasped, her scales rippling. I'm here, I thought, pushing my presence toward her. Hold on to me. It hurts. I'm here. Our connection deepened. Not full Saban, but something close. I felt her cardiovascular system struggling to adapt. Felt her endocrine response stabilizing, then spiking again. Felt her consciousness wavering. Stay with me, I thought desperately. Sira, stay with me. Tired. I know. But you're stronger than this. You're the woman who chose death over submission. Who studied quantum mechanics because it's beautiful. Who appreciates Buster Keaton's timing. Stay. Fight. Choose to live. Her presence flickered, then strengthened. Okay, she thought. Okay. The integration took 4 hours. Dr. Felmar moved between our chambers, monitoring readings, adjusting the treatment parameters. Queen Zaraketh stood motionless in the observation area, all 4 hands pressed against the glass. Finally, the pain began to recede. Sira's biological readings stabilized. The cascade failure halted, then reversed. It's working, Dr. Felmar breathed. By the Concordat, it's actually working. James, Sira thought, her presence warm and alive in my consciousness. I can feel you, not just through the interface. Your biology is part of mine now. How does it feel? Strange. Complete. Like I've been missing something I didn't know I needed. A pause. Can you feel me? I could. Not her thoughts. Not yet. Maybe never fully. But her presence. Her essential self. It sat at the edge of my consciousness like a second heartbeat. Yeah, I thought. I can feel you. Both patients are stable, Dr. Felmar announced. The hybrid regulatory system is functioning. Princess Sira's cascade failure has been arrested. She sat heavily, all 4 arms trembling. She'll live, Majesty. Through the interface, I felt Sira crying, not from pain, from relief so profound it overwhelmed everything else. We did it, she thought. We actually did it.
You did it? You chose to...
We chose. The distinction mattered. 6 weeks later, I woke from medical stasis to find Sira sitting beside my recovery pod. Her scales were vibrant purple gold, healthy and bright. Welcome back, she said aloud. I tried to sit up. Failed. Every muscle felt foreign, like I was learning to inhabit my body again. Easy, Sira said, steadying me with two of her arms. The treatments are complete. You're fully integrated. But your neuromuscular system needs time to recalibrate. How long was I out? 5 weeks? 3 days? The doctors kept you under to complete the modifications. Your DNA is 43% Kethran now. You'll live approximately 400 years, give or take. Your emotional range has expanded. Your senses are sharper, and... She paused, her scales flickering. You can feel me, can't you? Even without the interface? I could. Her presence sat in my consciousness like it had always been there. Not invasive, just there, part of my awareness. This is permanent? I asked. This is permanent, not a full psi bond, but close. We're connected, biologically, neurologically, for the next 4 centuries. I tested the connection, pushed a thought toward her presence. Can you hear this? Her scales flared bright. Yes. Can you feel this? A wave of warmth and gratitude, and something that might have been affection flowed through the connection. So what happens now? I asked aloud. Syra settled onto the recovery pod's edge. Now, bureaucracy. The Galactic Council wants formal statements about unauthorized medical experimentation. Ambassador Chen wants to eviscerate you for diplomatic violations. My mother wants to throw a celebration. Dr. Felmar wants to publish research papers. And the 17 rejected suitors want various forms of revenge. Sounds complicated. It is. She paused. But we have time. 400 years of time. We can figure it out.
Together? Her scales shifted through warm colors. Together?
Though I should warn you, I've already booked passage on a research vessel heading to the border systems. We leave in 6 months. Hope you like extended space travel. Actually laughed. It felt different with my modified biology. Deeper. Richer. I'm a xenobiology specialist. Extended space travel is literally my job description. Good, because I'm also enrolling us in a quantum mechanics research program. And I found an archive of Earth silent films from the 2020s. And there's a diplomatic conference on Helios 4 that I absolutely refuse to attend, so we'll need to come up with creative excuses. And I reached out and took her primary right hand. Syra. What? We have 400 years. Looked at me. Her scales settled into steady purple gold. You're right, she said quietly. 400 years. That's terrifying. Death. But maybe less terrifying together. Definitely less terrifying together. Definitely less terrifying together. Uncertainty threaded through with determination. And underneath it all, something new. Something growing. Not love. Not yet. Too soon for that. But the foundation of what could become love, given time. Given choice. Given 400 years of conversations in quantum mechanics and silent films and space travel. James, Syra said. Yeah? Thank you. For stepping forward when no one else would. Thank you for letting me. Queen Zaraketh entered the recovery bay, all 4 arms carrying what looked like ceremonial offerings. Ambassador Chen followed, looking like she'd aged a decade. Lieutenant Morrison, the Queen said formally, I owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You saved my daughter's life. We saved her life together, Majesty. Dr. Felmar, you, Syra herself. I just asked the right question at the right time.
You did more than that.
She glanced at Ambassador Chen. Though you've also created a diplomatic nightmare. Violation of cultural exchange protocols, cross-species biological integration without council approval. Ambassador Chen stepped forward. James, you're being recalled to Earth? The council demands a full inquiry. I expected that. You'll likely face court-martial. I expected that too. Syra's hand tightened on mine. Through our connection, I felt her surge of protective anger. He's not going anywhere without me, she said. If Earth wants to prosecute James, they'll have to prosecute the Kethron Crown Princess too. I doubt the Council will approve that kind of diplomatic incident. Queen Zaraketh's scales shifted to amused blue. Lieutenant Morrison is now biologically connected to Kethron royalty. Prosecuting him becomes significantly complicated. Ambassador Chen looked between us. Sighed. This is going to be a nightmare to explain. Most good things are, I said. The ambassador almost smiled. True, I'll manage the council. But James, you owe me. Possibly for the next 400 years. I can live with that. Syrah and I stood in the boarding area of the research vessel Distant Light. Her bags contained quantum mechanics equipment and ancient Earth film archives. Mine held xenobiology samples and a single photo of Earth from orbit. You're sure about this? I asked. 400 years is a long time. She looked at me, scales shifting through familiar purple gold. Through our connection, I felt her certainty. I'm sure about choosing. About living. About finding out what 400 years can become when you spend them with someone who sees you. She paused. Are you sure? I felt her presence in my consciousness. Warm. Alive. Endlessly curious. Brilliantly stubborn. Perfectly Syrah.
Yeah, I said. I'm sure.
We boarded together. Behind us, the Galactic Council's political machinery churned. Ahead, the border systems waited. Unknown, dangerous, full of possibility. But we had time. We had choice. We had each other. And sometimes that's enough to build something extraordinary from impossible circumstances. The ship's engines hummed to life. 3 moons hung in the viewport. Different colors, different orbits, forever connected by gravity and mathematics and quantum mechanics. Like us, I thought. Through our connection, I felt Syrah's agreement. And something else. Something that felt like a smile. Together, she thought. Together, I agreed. And the distant light carried us toward 400 years of possibility.